Hello, and thank you for joining me today. Well, this is the Wednesday, January 24th edition of our video devotionals. We thank you for joining us today. Hope your Wednesday is going well. It is the middle part of the week once again, the middle part of the work week and the school week. So hopefully everything's going well thus far. Of course, many of us will have an evening church service, and hopefully you can attend that and be a part of that. Well, we're going to jump into things kind of quickly here today. We have a theme this week entitled God's Leading. And so today we're going to be in Psalm 107. We'll look at verses 1 through 7 today. If it is your custom to get your Bible, we'll allow you to do that. And I just want to say thank you again for all who watch the videos. We appreciate you and appreciate all the comments, interactions that we do have. And then, of course, from time to time, we have folks who request a prayer. We have a dear lady who's been watching these videos for some time, very faithful to do it, and responds very regularly to whatever the truth is we give, but she's in need of some prayer, and she's got some health concerns going on. And I think from the last contact there on Facebook, it was about she's waiting news from a surgeon. So we need to be in prayer for her, if you will. And of course, there's others that have needs too. All right, so let me say this also. As you're watching this, there was a feature on my phone. If you notice how it just kind of made that focus, that changing of the frame, I just saw some button on this phone. It's kind of a new phone, and I saw that, and I guess it's called autofocus. And it kind of brings the focus of the frame I guess it does that to make sure I'm in focus. I guess I thought it was before, but anyway, it's just a new feature. I may not use it tomorrow. So if you're wondering why there's this in and out, that's why. Okay. All right, so Psalm 107, we're talking about God's leading. We're going to start in verse 1 here of Psalm 107. And read down to the key verse, which is verse 7. Here's what it says. Oh, give thanks unto the Lord, for he is good, for his mercy endureth forever. Let the redeemed of the Lord say so, whom he hath redeemed from the hand of the enemy, and gathered them out of the lands, from the east, and from the west, and from the north, and from the south. They wandered in the wilderness in a solitary way. They found no city to dwell in. Hungry and thirsty, their soul fainted in them. Then they cried unto the Lord in their trouble, and he delivered them out of their distresses. In verse 7, and he led them forth by the right way, that they might go to a city of habitation. All right, so here's some things underlined from verses 1 through verse 7. Underline the word redeemed in verse 2, whom he hath redeemed. Verse 3, and gathered them. Underline the word gathered. Down to verse number 6, he delivered them out of their distresses. I've got the word delivered underlined, and then I've got underlined, he led them forth by the right way. So here's my point of that. You know, when I see this psalm here, there's things the Lord has done. There's actions that God has made toward us. And it says here, first of all, he redeemed. So if the Lord's redeemed, then that means he's got a way that he's going to lead us because of being redeemed. He gathered them. There's times that we are gathered from a certain place so that we can go to another place, but he gathers us. Then he delivered them. There's times we need deliverance, of course, from things. But all that to say, if God has redeemed, he's gathering, he is delivering us. That all has a point. That means that there's a end game, if you please, to what God's trying to do. And then, of course, verse 7, he led them forth by the right way. So in all these processes that God is doing, it's because he's leading us somewhere. He's leading us to a certain point. Sometimes it's a literal physical place. Can many of you out there say that God led you to the church that you attend? God led you to the wife or husband that you have. God led you to the job that you have, and many, many other things that God leads us. God leads us to friends. I was listening to a preacher give an account of another preacher he'd met, and he says, God brought us together, and neither one of us was really looking, searching each other out, but God led us that way, and I believe that. So all that to say, when I look at this, of course, we know from the very context here, it's talking about God's people and where they're led as far as leading them to a place. And of course, we know that God led them from Egypt into the promised land. And then there's been times when the children of Israel were not delivered, but they were removed from, they were in captivity, sometimes faraway places and sometimes not so far, but God would deliver and bring them back. And there's kind of this back and forth. But eventually, the idea, of course, is to be led to a place of permanency. You know, there's people that's watching this, just with our little audience that we have, that many of you can say, you've lived in various places and different places, and so it's not been it's been, I guess, your pattern that it's just not been as permanent as some others. Not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying that's the case. Sometimes people have a mom or dad that was in the military, and they've had to move places because of the different assignments. There's people who work jobs and they get transferred to different places. And then there's some people I've met that they'll say, you know what, I grew up in this house. This was my mom and dad's house. I grew up here. They've passed. I'm still in this house, and they've literally lived in one particular house almost all their life. And certain areas they've always lived. I meet people here, they're from here, they've never moved from here. As opposed to me, I'm from here, but God led me to Bible college in the Chicagoland area, Northwest Indiana. Then I was led up to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Then from there, we came back to North Carolina to the coastal area, and then I'm right back where I grew up. So the point is, it varies, and it could be different reasons. But a lot of people likes to have a place they call home and then kind of put down the roots, as we say. So what I'm saying here is God does things as He's leading us. He's leading us to some permanency for various reasons. It might be literally God's led you to some place and you'll be there the rest of your life, and God led you there. It might be that God's leading you in the spiritual sense. God, as it speaks about in the New Testament, talks about He's trying to settle us and get us into positions where we're settled, more grounded in faith and more grounded in things like that, even our doctrine, our beliefs, that we become settled. We're not up and down. We're not constantly questioning certain things, but we're more settled, and God leads us like that. And it's all that to say, as you're listening to this today, God is always leading to, as it says, the right way. We don't always see it as the right way, but God does, and thank God He does that. But as long as we're willing to follow Him, then it's always the right way. And I know one day God's leading us, and we'll be in heaven one day. And that's we all cherish that idea that God, one day we're going to be settled forever and ever and ever in a place. And as we hear the old songs that talk about we're just kind of sojourners, use the Bible language, we're pilgrims and strangers here, and yet one day heaven will be the permanent home. But sometimes people in this life, it's like that in the physical sense, and sometimes it's like that where you're growing and growing and growing, and we should be. But the point is, it's always the right way, and it's always like a more settled way. So I hope you understand that, and so thank God God does that. And if we'll follow, then it's the right way, and it's a settled place. It's a place that we can, like I said, put our roots down one way or the other. All right, we're going to stop right there. Hope everybody has a great day, safe day, healthy day. Lord willing, we'll see you tomorrow, and have a great day.